So you've created all these highlight clips. Wouldn't you like to show off a little bit and put them in a playlist? Let's do it. On the controller screen, we're going to go to playlists. Currently, there are no highlights in our playlist. This is how we're going to put them in there. We're going to go back to our highlights. We're going to select one. Let's start out with this Grass Valley logo. And we're going to touch this button right down here, which says Add Playlist. And that's exactly what it does. Notice on our VGA screen, it went right up there to the top. This is our playlist column as it's growing. I'm going to go ahead and select a couple more highlights and continue to add them to the playlist. And notice that they always add them to the bottom of the playlist. Now if I wanted to add a few highlight clips in a row, I can multi-select by selecting one of them, holding down the function key, and then multi-selecting. Now the order that I choose the highlights is the order that they will be added to the playlist when I say Add Playlist. And there they go. Another option is to use the mouse. If I want, I can click and drag a highlight right into playlists. I can even then change the order using the mouse by clicking and dragging to where I want it to go. Now that we have all our highlight clips in the order that we want them in the playlist, we're going to go ahead and queue it up by using the playlist key. Hit that 3 times. It queues it up to the top of my playlist, and then I use the T-bar to play it, or I could use the play button as well. Notice that the gauge here reflects how far into the clip that I am, and it also gives me a countdown timer for that individual clip. I also get a countdown timer of the amount remaining for the entire playlist. If I want to advance to the next highlight before I reach the end of the clip, I just use the take button, and that advances to the next clip. If I want to add dissolves, part of my ME setup in the config tab, I just touch that square right there. That applies ME1 to that location. I have a couple different MEs chosen already in my config tab, so I can apply different ones on the playlist. And then I can queue up the playlist and choose to play it. And then when it gets to that particular transition, it'll utilize the ME that I've chosen as my mix effect. If I want to change the mix effect before the playlist reaches that location, I can go ahead and change it right on the fly. If I want to apply the same mixed effect to all of these highlights in this playlist, I would choose this box, and let's say ME1, and then back. It now has applied the ME1 mixed effect to all of the highlights in the playlist. If I want to remove them, same thing, touch the box and say none, and then back. And now it has gotten rid of all of those mixed effects. Now let's say I want to go ahead and set up my config real quick on what those MEs are. Here's ME1. Currently it's a video and audio dissolve of 10 frames. Now notice I've set up my flying ME to be the same. And I do this for this reason, that if I'm back in my playlist and I've got my playlist queued and I've forgotten to add mixed effects to the highlights in the playlist, then I can simply turn Shift ME on, roll the playlist, and then every time that I hit the take button, it actually do a dissolve. What I want you to be aware of is that this playlist has been playing out on P1 the whole time with dissolves, and I can at the same time play it out on P2, again with dissolves, just by selecting the P2 key and hitting play. And I can still do take and change that with dissolves. And I can go back to P1 and change that. So it's entirely possible to play any playlist on either channel at the same time with dissolves. With that in mind, if I want to change the highlights within the playlist, trim them, it's very simple. If I want to make them shorter, I'm just going to go ahead and do it just like I do my highlight trimming. I find a new in, I go and I find my new out. And if I want to make them longer, I do the same thing by utilizing that shift trim that we discussed earlier. Now, one thing that if I want to change my angle is I would choose the clip within the screen itself by touching it, getting a blue band around it, and then selecting the in out. And here's my angles. I'm going to go ahead and choose my B angle. And now it's applied the B angle to that particular highlight when it plays in the playlist. So let's say I'm very happy with my playlist, except for one thing. I would like to see it in a loop mode so that I don't have to keep re-queuing it. I'll just pause it with the jog wheel, select the loop logo, and I can do the same thing on my VGA screen with the mouse, and then re-queue the playlist and play. And now it'll go in loop mode, and I can walk away.